Welcome to our first episode of Beyond the Track for the 2018 season. In this episode, we will be featuring a young man out of Napoleon, Ohio, Tyler Gunn. Before the video begins, we want to thank Tyler Gunn Racing for opening their shop to us. The purpose of these videos is to allow another way for fans to get to know a driver, their crew, and to see how hard teams work and how much time they spend in the shop to make getting to the track possible. We don't pretend to be perfect in this video, as Tyler is a race car driver and not an actor, and we are no TV crew or movie production experts, but we feel that it's important to show the fans this side of the sport. We hope that you enjoy these videos this season, and now let's meet Tyler Gunn.
I got into racing in around 2008. My dad worked for an ARCA team with James Hilton, and he was traveling up and down the road, and he didn't really like all the traveling. He said if he was going to do that, he was going to do it with his own kids, so he went out and bought me a quarter midget. From there, we've been hooked. We've won a ton of races in quarter midgets, championships, and moved up to 600s in 2012, and ran 600s and championships and won all kinds of races. And I think 2016 we moved up to a 305 sprint car, and it was the only thing I've never won a race in or a championship before moving to a 410. And here we are today running a 410 and living the dream that I've always wanted as a kid. So it's a pretty blessing, and I'm thankful to do what I do.
So how old were you when you first began?
9 years old.
So you're never too early, right? You're
Nope.
never too young?
Nope.
Excellent. So now that you're running a 410, what are your hopes or what are your goals? What's something that maybe in 2018 that you hope to achieve?
I'm hoping to run up front like we did last year and just be competitive every night and put the car in the trailer. Last year every night we put the car back in the trailer and didn't tear anything up. So we're hoping to cap it off with some wins this year and hopefully go after a fast championship. We were pretty close last year, and I think we can get the job done this year with the help I got and the equipment, and I'm pretty sure we can get it done.
There's always a little bit of history with how a team comes up with a number or maybe the colors that they run. Is there a story behind your number?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was a big Earnhardt fan and big Sam Hornish fan, and Sam Hornish used to run the 6 on his Indy car, and Dale Jr. ran the 8, so I put them together, and we've been 68 ever since. And everyone always asks that story, and everyone's usually got a story behind it, so it's pretty cool.
That is very cool. Now, what about your colors? Are you partial to these colors that you run now?
When I got the Ferris sponsorship, they wanted a red race car, so we decided to go red, and seems like a lot of people got red, so it's kind of, I'd like to change it up. I love the pink back in the day, so maybe someday we'll get away from it and get Ferris to expand.
So we finally got a race in on Friday night after 3 consecutive weeks of being snowed out, cold out, and rained out. Can you tell the fans how your night went?
We ran pretty good Friday. We qualified second quick, I think, in my group, and we started third in the heat race and finished fourth, which put us a little behind the game ball. We hit the tire on the start and put us a little behind, and then we started on the pole of the B and won the B, and started 16th in the feature and moved up to 14th. The car wasn't perfect, but it was a good night of learning and seeing what the car is going to do with the new motor and the more horsepower. So I think we'll be good for the rest of the year.
All right, here we have a weekly maintenance sheet that Tyler keeps on the car, and now we're going to have him talk a little bit about what happens in the shop through the week.
Through the week, I follow the maintenance sheet pretty well. It makes it a lot easier on me so I don't forget things. We do the bars. Everyone does the bars during the week. Pull the bars out and grease them. I check the arms and stops because I've had a few break over the years. Put a little grease under the front torsion arm so it don't wear on the front axle. Then I check to make sure the shocks are all free during the week, that I ain't binded up. Grease the kingpins up front here. Put some grease in the kingpins during the week.
And what's the purpose of that?
For wear, and there's a bearing in the bottom I don't know if you can see it, there's a bearing down here for wear. I also pull the front tires off and check the brake pads. This week we went through a set of brake pads at Attica, so it's a good thing we checked those.
Now, is that something you would keep in the trailer?
Yeah, I keep a spare set in the trailer in case something does happen, and I keep a separate caliper in the trailer with a quick disconnect hose, so it makes it a little easier if something does happen.
Very good.
We do the nozzles during the week. My dad does those.
And what are the nozzles, and what do they do?
Put the fuel in the motor, and there's 16 of them, 8 on top, 8 on the bottom, and you take them out and clean them and look through them through the light to make sure you can see through them. He also runs the valve. You pull the valve cover off and check the valves and the springs, and make sure that's all good to go.
Well, what are you checking for when you check valves or the springs?
Check to see if they're loose. You want to see if they're loose. You could have some problems and tighten them up, and if they're real loose, you could have some big problems. And then you check the springs to make sure they're not broke or anything like that. So it's kind of a big deal when you do motor maintenance. That's why I let my dad do it, because I get too nervous doing it. I can do it, but it's a lot of money on the line, and I just let my dad take care of that part. And this week we had a bottom radiator hose go bad, so I put a new hose on it, and I'm letting the air bubble out of it overnight. So then we clean the crankcase bleeder or air filter. We clean that up, pull it off, and clean it with some simple green, and re-oil it and put it back on. I also check the brake fluid and the power steering fluid during the week in case you have some leaks or some boils out if it gets a little too hot.
Tyler's office right here.
I checked the rear brake pads too. I went through a set at Attica too, so we're in the process of changing the rear brake pads. Got a new set here.
Now, are there certain things that maybe you don't have to check every week, but maybe every couple of weeks or every couple of races?
Every 4 races, I try to check the birdcage bearings. I pull them off, clean them up, and make sure they're not rough or anything. Maybe sometimes if we're going into a big race, I'll pull them off before then and just double check. Like for Mansfield, we'll go completely through the car and double check everything. We'll check the front ones and the rear ones. Every 4, I try to check both front and rear. And but before like a big race like Mansfield, we'll check all 4 of them and make sure they're good to go.
Now, what about when you're at the car wash? Like, do you have to be concerned about water getting into the birdcage or
I try not
parts of the engine?
Yeah, I try not to shoot a bunch of water towards the birdcage or in the birdcage. There'll be some grease that comes off. I'd rather take it off and wipe it off with a rag instead of trying to blow it off with a pressure washer. And when I try to wash the motor, I try not to spray. Make sure the motor's cool and just kind of spray it off. I don't try to get it real wet, and I cover the mag with I got a cover for the mag and a cover for the breather, and I try to cover that stuff up, and then we put plugs in the injection so no water gets in the motor. So we try not to wash the motor too much. I'd rather take a rag and wipe it off than use a bunch of water.
Sure. Now, you're talking about your weekly maintenance. How does that differ from your Friday to Saturday maintenance? Do you have to do all of that stuff all over again, or?
No, from Friday to Saturday, we kind of cut it back a little bit. We have to change gear if we go from Fremont to Attica, so you change gear and check the rear end oil, but you don't really have to check it all. You do the valves and the nozzles and check we change the oil filter every night, and we cut that open. The first thing we do after we wash the car is cut the oil filter open, make sure there's nothing in it, and make sure we don't have no motor problems.
Now, what if you would find shavings or something? Does that mean a trip to the
that'd be
to Gressman in the morning, or?
That would be if we found shavings from Saturday morning, we'd either switch cars or switch motors, and quick and go from there. And then we'd get the motor to Scott first thing on Monday if we could, or even Sunday night. But the first thing we do is cut the oil filter and look through it, because that could be the deciding factor if you're going to get this car ready or another car ready.
Sure.
So.
Now, you're talking about the oil filter. Do you change how often? I should say. Do you change the oil?
We change the oil every 2 nights now. So before we were going every 4, but now we're on every 2. We changed oils. So.
Is there a specific kind? Is there a racing oil that you use, or can you go to your local Walmart and maybe fans don't understand what you would use? No,
we order it through a distributor. We have a shop, so it makes it a little bit easier for us. We just order it. We order a few cases at a time, and that way you can't go to Walmart or O'Reilly's and really order it. I know in Fremont, Rich Farmer keeps some in stock, so around here I don't think you could just go find it on a shelf.
So you could go to Farmer's Shop. They have racing oil filters also?
Yeah, and Napa and Fremont, I know he stocks racing oil and filters.
Okay, very good. All right, a lot of people in the stands may not understand how much help it takes to get to the racetrack each week. Why don't you tell the fans who all help you? And
This year I have Gary Bateson with me, and he helps me with the bars and weekly maintenance, and he helped me build my cars this winter. And I have my dad. He does all my motor work for me, and checks my fuel filter valves, cleans the air filter, and checks the oil filter and stuff like that during the week. And then my girlfriend Brooke, she helps me clean the trailer, fuel jugs, wash the car, anything that I need help with in the shop. She's usually there with me every night. Then usually I do the rest. Anything that needs done, I usually do the bars. I usually do it all. I did it all the last few years myself, and this year I got Gary with me, and my dad's stepping up and helping out a little bit more. So hopefully this year I can take the stress off of me and do more driving than having to worry about getting the car ready during the week.
it's always nice to have extra help, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, do you have guys maybe that will come here? I know you've mentioned Gary, but do you have people that only come to the shop, maybe not to the track, or maybe people only go to the track but not to the shop?
Nope, it's just us four, and Gary will come to the shop. I think he's going to come here 2 times a week, so that helps me out a lot, so I don't have to do it all myself, and like I was in the past. So
Okay.
it's just us four, and hopefully we can be successful with just us. I know a lot of people have a lot of other help. And,
Are you ever looking for more help?
yeah, we'll always take more help, because it takes a lot of people to get this done. And I also have Tim. He helps me at the racetrack. I did forget about him. He wipes the car down, checks the fuel and stuff like that. He comes to the shop when I do need him, but I can always count on him at the racetrack, and he is also a sponsor too, so it's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yep.
So, what if somebody watching this wants to maybe get out of the stands and come to the pit area and help Tyler Gunn? How would they go about doing that?
They could just message me on Facebook if they're interested in coming to help, and we could always use some help for some big races and stuff like that. And with a lot of people, it gets congested, so it'd be cool to have another guy that's just there or helps me in the shop that make it a little easier on me.
Okay, this is Gary, who helps Tyler both in the shop and at the track. And we caught Gary here cutting the tire. And can you tell the fans what you're doing and why?
What I'm doing is I'm opening up another groove on this tire to help get a better bite earlier on of the night. The first cut I make shallow, and then the second cut I'll make deeper as the night goes on. Then when I get done grooving, then I sipe the tire too also, which helps dissipate some of the heat on the tires. And this is
So is this the tool you use, the sipe, or what?
no,
can you tell the fans how that's different?
here's a tool that just cuts. It melts the tire. It actually heats the tire up with a blade, and it cuts it just like a piece of butter.
Okay, now we're out in a trailer, and we want to show the fans that there's a lot more to these trailers other than just carrying a car to and from the track. So Tyler, can you take us through?
Yeah, we got quite a bit of spares in here. We keep a spare radiator in case anything ever happens. You never know, you might get a rock hole or anything through it. Some spare torsion bars and some different torsion bars throughout the night. You might have to change bars. A couple set of different radius rods and stuff like that in case you hit a tire or get caught up in something. You need some spare torsion bars. Wheel spacers for the race car. All kinds of cleaners, rags. Then there's a top wing behind us in case we do get upside down and can get it fixed.
I hope you never have to use.
Yeah, it's been up there for 2 years, so hopefully
There
it
you
can
go.
stay up there. Then a nose wing in case you ever need that. All different shocks throughout the night for different track conditions and stuff like that. And Nerf bars, front bumper, rear bumper rack. Hopefully we never need.
Right.
And spare set of headers in case you crack a header or get one smashed. Spare front axle. This is my non-wing front axle. I keep my wing one on my mule, which is in the shop.
Now, are those set to go right into the car, or do you have to adjust anything once you take the old one out and put the new one in?
No, they're set, ready to throw in the car, and you hook the brake line up. It's got a quick connector on it, and you just snap it in, and on you go. So I try to get all my parts duplicated so they're just ready to bolt on, so you don't have to re-square a car or anything like that. At least make it through the night and then re-square it back at the shop. I usually have a rear end in here, but that's in my car right now. I got to take back out and put back in the trailer. And I got some fuel jugs. I got 4 in here and 4 in my mule.
You built that.
And yeah, I had to revamp my tire rack this year because
Very handy.
my mule did not fit in here.
Yes, we're going to have to show that too. We'll show that later in the video. That's a pretty cool thing.
tires, all different sizes of tires, left rears, right rears, and I try to measure them through the week so I can mark them and know what they are, so when we're at the track we don't have to roll tires in and out of the trailer and figure out what they are so they're ready to go. Try to keep the track, when we're at the track, try to keep work to a minimum and a little bit easier to watch the racetrack. And I got a bunch of spare parts up in the cabinets. Some, we got a fuel pump, some arms, nose wing, straps, some brake pads and stuff up in there. Then there's some shifter DMI cable, some bird cages, and some shock rubbers. Then we got keep a spare air filter, spare wing tray, and then we got some oil up there in case we need some oil and filters. Then we keep some blue towels up there. Then our bleeders and our gears are in there.
Now, obviously, you can't have every single part in a trailer to rebuild a car. How do you go about deciding what to carry, or at what point do you just say, let's just load it up?
I try to keep as much in here as I can. Not just the fact of crashing in the night and getting it fixed. From Friday to Saturday, I usually try not to go home. I try to camp out in Fremont, and so I don't have the 2-hour haul back and forth from Attica to Fremont. Or if we go to Mansfield, that's a 2-day show. I try to keep as much in here as I can, but sometimes like you can't keep a spare car or anything like that in here, or a motor. And so if you hurt a bend a frame or anything like that, you pretty much have to go home. But I pretty much got everything in here. If we don't hurt a car, or frame, or a motor, that we can get her fixed at the racetrack.
All right, we know that it takes a lot of funding to get a car to the racetrack, and one way for teams to raise funds is through selling merchandise, whether it be shirts, sweatshirts, hats, stickers, whatever it might be. Do you want to tell the fans what you have available?
Yeah, right now we have smalls and mediums only. Right there's the front, right here's the back. We're working on getting funding for sweatshirts and maybe a new design with like red or gray shirts.
So if somebody watching this wanted to help fund to buy t-shirts for you, would they be able to contact you? Or
yeah, just contact me, Brooke, or Tyler Gunn Racing, or Tyler Gunn,
Okay.
or at the track anytime. We can get that figured out.
Okay.
If you have any ideas of what else to do. We might get koozies. We always had that the past couple of years. Bracelets they had for Kick It for Cancer, pens, pencils, I mean, whatever. But yeah, hopefully we can get some new sweatshirts this year.
Okay, now Brooke was being shy while we were in the shop, so now that we have her on camera, we're going to talk to her. And can you tell the fans like what you do to help Tyler be successful?
Everything. I'm always right by his side. I help get the car ready to be washed. I love learning more about the motor and everything. I cut the tires. At the track, I get the qualifying order, heat races. I'm always back and forth between the pit tower and the trailer. Anything the team needs, I'm right there next to them.
Okay, now we're going to show the fans Tyler's project during the off season.
During the off season, I decided to build a mule. I found a pretty good price on it, and I built it all myself. We got some spare radius rods, some oil, front and rear arms, some stops, a Jacob's ladder, and then there's a tie rod and drag link up top. And makes it a little easier for races like Mansfield and stuff. You have everything in the infield. And there's a toolbox around back. It's got all the tools and wrenches all labeled, and I tried to cut it out real nice, and screwdrivers and
Everything's here that you may need on a red.
Yeah, everything you could need throughout the night.
Or if you're in the infield during
Yep.
qualifying.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's some stuff up here. Copied this off the lenders. It's for pumping up tires, so you can get 6 feet away from it, so you don't
Which has been a
explode
hot
on you.
topic over the off season. Yeah. But one of the things we thought was pretty cool and why we wanted you to show was this air hose.
Yeah, I built it's got an electric air compressor in it and a hose out the back for in the infield, so you don't have to. You can carry. I got an air tank on it, but makes it easier at the racetrack. You can grab it and go right to the race car instead of pulling it out of the trailer and tripping over it or anything like that.
Very nice.
It's got some fuel jugs in there and wheel wrench, the funnel, everything you need.
So you just took a mule and added.
Yeah, I bought a mule with the dump box on it and built the box and the ladder and everything you see on it except for the few HRP things I bought for the that hold the front axle and the nose wing and the jet.
And so fans may not know too that your crew can get up top, climb this ladder and get up top to watch.
Yeah, I keep my front axle on here with the radius rods already on it, and the left front one's zip tied to the front, so if you do crash at Mansfield or something, you can throw it in right away and it's all ready to go. You just bolt it up and mount the tires on and off you go, and makes it a little easier in case something does happen. That my crew, make it easier on my crew that they can get it done in time.
You also carry a front nose wing. Now, do you have a way of strapping a top wing on? Let's say you are at Mansfield, they qualify, you have to go to the infield. Is there a way to strap a top wing to the top?
Yeah, there's you can put 2 tires up there and you can set a wing on it and strap it down to the side, so you can fit a top wing on there, and you can fit a right rear, left rear, and 2 fronts up top. I got some hooks up there so you can put some bungee cords across them so they don't fall off. But yeah, you can get just about a complete race car on it. I was lucky enough the Ferris joined with me last year and helped me out quite a bit, and it makes it a lot easier on me with financial standpoint since this is a small family team, and makes me not have to worry about it as much. And then I got World Class Collision in Napoleon. They do all my paint work. They paint my tail tanks and any kind of body work I have, and they do a really nice job, and a lot of people ask who does that. And Guns Auto Service is my mom and dad. They sponsor and do about everything they can to keep me racing. Moore's Plumbing, he helps with the car every week. He comes and wipes it down and comes to the racetrack every night. Premier Patch and Paving, they came on a few years ago, and they do all asphalt paving and stuff like that. Robotic Tooling is in Napoleon, Ohio. O'Reilly Auto Parts in Napoleon. Then BG Products sponsors all my rear end oil and stuff like that. Cure Speed Shop and Tiffin, all my race car part needs.
In closing, if anybody would be interested in helping Tyler out this season, he's always looking for more sponsors. And Tyler, could you tell them how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can get a hold of me on Facebook, or they can call the shop in Napoleon and ask for Tyler, or any kind of social media, any kind of coming up to me at the racetrack, just talking to me. But the biggest thing is just call Guns Auto Service in Napoleon at 419-592-8383 and just ask for Tyler.